Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the 21 Day Sugar Detox. This is our spring 2023 group program, and I'm glad to see you, whether you're here live or recording. But I'm so glad that uh, Karen's able to make it live, and then I know a few of you will have to watch this afterwards, and that's just fine. I'll be sending out the recording either tonight or in the morning. But just a few housekeeping rules. If you do happen to join us when we're going, just put yourself on mute for the sake of recording, and then I'll have a Q&A time at the end so you can jot down questions. You can even put it in the chat, but I'll be honest, I'm not always good about looking at it when I'm doing my notes and everything. So just be sure and ask me at the end and all. So let's get started. All right. So here is my question to you. Have you been eating a lot of unhealthy foods? You know, do you eat more processed, refined foods? Maybe you grab a quick meal through the drive-through, or maybe in the afternoon or morning, if you're working, you head to the vending machine or for a candy bar or even a sugary coffee on your way into work, because you don't have a meal and you don't have a snack with you. And if so, you're in the right place, because there's a lot of us who have been there, done that, so you're not alone. But this 21 Day Sugar Detox is a great way to reset your body and your mind. We're going to be focusing on eating real whole foods. You do not have to buy any supplements, powders, any kind of prepackaged foods. I'm not going to sell you any of those. You're going to be shopping at your grocery store, and then I'll tell you about a few places online as well. But let's jump in. Before we do that, I'm going to give you a little background about me. I know most of you personally. Some of you, though, you may not know some of my health journey. So anyway, most of the time, people who are a health coach, we actually get into this because of our own health journey or that of our family. And that's kind of my story. I'm working right now as a national board certified health and wellness coach, and I work mainly with women who are kind of perimenopause, menopause age. Some have digestive issues, some have autoimmune. And I use nutrition and lifestyle factors, and we do that to help them feel better. But before that, I worked as a speech language pathologist in the school and private setting. And I began homeschooling my kids, and I'm married, and I have two children, and one is out of school working. The other is a junior in college right now. But one thing I wanted to show you is, so this is a before, kind of an after picture. To be honest, I just don't take a whole lot of full figure pictures of myself, but this was me and my daughter, Carla, back in December 2005. And I know some people have said to me, Leah, it doesn't look that bad. But if I would stand up, you would see I have on a pair of red sweats, because that's all I could fit into. And I had gained a lot of weight with pregnancy, and even nursing did not get rid of it. And I actually was overweight in high school. But before that, when I was in about 8th, 9th grade, I actually had anorexia nervosa, and I lost a whole lot of weight, quit having my period for a while. Had some ups and downs. My mom died. I had some other personal issues, which I didn't handle very well emotionally. That affected me physically. And so I went on a lot of diets. My weight fluctuated. And then with the birth of our first child, who had some sensory issues, ADHD, kind of some OCD, I started doing some research about some healthier ways. And so we did a gluten-free, casein-free diet for about 7 years. And so that kind of was my intro into using some food and some lifestyle strategies to try to help health and everything. And then fast forward, I lost 3 babies to miscarriages. The doctors couldn't figure out why. Then later, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid autoimmune condition. And I had joint pains, hair loss, fatigue, depression, anxiety, and digestive issues, pretty severe IBS, things like that. saw a lot of conventional functional medicine doctors and all, but one thing that helped was when I knew that I was kind of a sugar addict because that was always my comfort food, chocolate and sugar. But then when I was introduced to the 21 day sugar detox, I did it, and then I decided to become certified at it because it really did make a difference in especially my anxiety and depression and mood. And then it helped with my weight and also my fatigue and joint issues and things like that. But I wish I would have known years ago how sugar really affected me and how it really hurt my body, my mind, and really my spirit, because I just, I got to the point sometimes where I just wanted to give up. But I do know I'm a Christian, and I believe that God has something planned for each one of us, no matter how old we are. But I know that we have to feel better physically because that's going to affect us mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So throughout this program, I hope you're going to think about why you're here, why you are doing this. It's 21 days, but really go back to your motive and what's your underlying reason and what's your purpose for doing that. So this is the outline of what we're going to talk about today. This is our agenda. We're going to talk about impact of sugar, your pre-detox preparation, which you're in the middle of right now, some of the rules, the yes/no list, which I know most of you have been looking over this week because I've heard from you. Determining your level, which everybody should know their level right now. The build your plate, which is really key, especially when we're done with the detox. It'll help kind of sink in your brain how to continue this just in everyday life. And then we'll talk about meal plans and recipes and have a Q&A session. All right, so let's talk about the impact of sugar on our body. So why do we need sugar? Well, sugar or carbs is not bad because carbs give us quick energy, right? And it fuels our body. We know that we have three macronutrients: the proteins, the fats, and the carbohydrates, and they all work together for various functions, which we'll talk about in the 21 days, but they do provide energy, which our body does need. And so carbs turn into sugar. And so that's going to be naturally present in foods, but it is added to a lot of the processed foods out there, like breads, pastas, pastries, yogurts, dressings, ice cream, and you're going to see more as you go in this program and all. So our body needs the carbs to function, but the processed high sugary foods is what we don't need, right? Because of what it does to our body. Now, if you have ever eaten a whole lot of sugar, maybe after a birthday or holiday, maybe Thanksgiving or Christmas, and, you just keep eating and eating, and then the next few days, you just might have these crashes, then you start, your belly kind of hurts you, but then also your mood is affected. Well, that's because of the blood sugar spike and crashing that we have going on. Now, you're going to be reading about it, and you may have already read a little bit about dopamine, and that's that neurotransmitter that gives us feelings of pleasure or reward. We can get it in healthy ways. I mean, God created it, right? So when we exercise, that gives us some a more natural type of dopamine. When touch, physical affection, just getting outside, petting your dog or your cat. There's a lot of natural ways, but the unhealthy ways are eating too much sugar, having a whole lot of caffeine, drugs and alcohol and all. But when we get the unhealthy burst of sugar, and then we get that dopamine hit, it creates a good feeling, and then it causes us to have this continuous cycle that we just want more and more, and it's usually those high sugary foods. Not many of us will reach for more and more blueberries, right? Or even watermelon. It's usually kind of the refined foods. So that's what we're going to focus on today. And one thing too, it crowds out your nutrient dense foods, because if you're so full of the processed foods, then you're not going to really want to eat salads or broccoli, right? Or cauliflower, or even some carrots. You're going to want more and more of those sugary foods, okay? All right, so here are some short-term effects on your body that sugar, the refined sugar, I'm talking about refined sugar right now, not natural sugars, can cause on our body. And so if you notice, we're going to look at this kind of clockwise. So the lady at the top, she's having a mood swing, probably while she's driving. And so, you know, we hear about road rage out there so much, and I don't know the reason, all the reasons why, but if somebody has had a blood sugar crash and then they're in terrible traffic, they're going to probably experience some road rage, right? Also, more colds and flus are more apt to happen if you have a whole lot of sugar in your body. You have fatigue and low energy. Even though it may give you that energy boost right at first, then you're going to crash hard within a couple of hours. Sugar can also cause some acne, rashes, skin problems, and then a lot of women have severe PMS, and most of the people, there may be one or two of y'all who are still cycling, you're still having your period, but you may be experiencing bad PMS, and a lot of times that can be due to too much high sugar and high processed carbs. Now, long-term sugar can actually cause some effects that you may not be aware of. You know, the depression and anxiety, like I talked about, the eczema, psoriasis, skin issues. It can actually cause trouble sleeping. You know, I mean, just something as simple as if you eat a dessert at 9 o'clock at night, it's going to be hard for your body to go to sleep. Or you might go to sleep, but then you're going to wake up in the middle of the night because your body's trying to digest all that sugar. Also, diabetes type 2 can be caused by too much sugar. It oftentimes becomes pre-diabetes and insulin resistance, and then it becomes type 2 diabetes. And then the man with the walker, this is just showing Alzheimer's. There's a lot of research over the last few years that is calling Alzheimer's actually diabetes type 3. And so they feel like what can contribute to it, I'm not saying genetics is out of the picture, but what can contribute to it is high levels of sugar and processed foods. So hidden sugars can be in anything. And y'all are probably seeing that already. I've heard from 2 or 3 of you who are kind of surprised that it's in a lot of things that you wouldn't have suspected, but just regular breads, peanut butter, other nut butters, cereal that you buy at the store in boxes, those are notorious for having a lot of sugar. Deli meat, salad dressings, and even spaghetti sauces. Typically, they put sugar in there. And so I know I included this week hidden sugars. It's also on page 109 in your guidebook. And just get used to the names of sugar, because when you're going out to the store, you don't want to be tricked. And take a picture of that page, and that way you'll have it in your phone when you go shopping. All right, so let's talk about this week, since it's pre-detox prep week. So in order to make yourself successful in this program, I'm probably going to say it a lot, but planning and preparation are keys to your success, okay? And this week, it's starting to get you used to reading your guidebook, because there's a lot of good information in there, and then also jotting down in your journal things that you're eating, okay? And if you haven't gotten your guidebook yet, that's okay. When it comes in, you can go back and look at it and read it as well. But get used to it, because it's very helpful, especially say next week, at the end of the week, you call me and you say, Leah, I am really tired. I don't know what's going on. I'm just feeling exhausted. And we'll go back and we'll look at your journal and what you jotted down, what you've been eating. 9 times out of 10 people the first week, the problem is they're not eating enough food. So if you write down your foods and how you're feeling, your energy level, your mood, if you've slept well the night before, that's going to help me help you figure out what's going on. Okay. Let's see. All right, let's get started. So this week, and you've probably already done most of these, but reading over, familiarizing yourself with the daily guide. And this, of course, is our daily guidebook. There is a yes, no page in there. There's 3 pages, 17, I think it is 17 through 21, determining your level. And building your 21-day sugar detox plate, and then reviewing. The yes/no list is really a great one. You may even want to take a snapshot of that to take with you when you go to the store as well. Okay, let's go over some of the rules. And so if you look at pages 19 through 21 in your guidebook, and you can look right now, she has it outlined according to levels 1, 2, and 3. Most people in our group this time are doing level 1. I'm doing level 3 because that's kind of what I do anyway, but and we're going to talk a little bit more about it. But remember, we're focusing not just eliminating sugar cravings, but we're trying to focus on learning how to eat real whole foods that are going to keep you satisfied and also bump up your nutrient levels. Okay. If you look at it, meats are fine to eat. Now, she recommends grass-fed, pastured, organic. And if you want to do that, that's fine. I do it sometimes, to be honest. I don't do it all the time. For one thing, it's expensive, especially now. You know, we know everything's kind of going up. Although thankfully eggs have dropped a little bit recently. But you don't necessarily want to go with a leaner cut of meat. I know that's kind of what we all were brought up doing, you know, and but really, the meats that have a little more fat, that's going to help keep you fuller longer and prevent you from getting so hungry and all. As far as your dairy products, since most of you are doing dairy, and I've talked to the majority of you, but be sure you're using full fat as often as you can, okay? Seafood, you can do any kind of seafoods you want. Your fats and oils, you want to try to stick with more of like olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil. Those are good. Grass-fed butter is fine for if you're doing level 1 and also level 2. Those are fine because that's going to help keep you fuller longer as well. And 1 to 2 cups of non-starchy veggies per meal, and then starchier carbs. Those are like your sweet potatoes, winter squashes, plantains, and we'll talk a little bit more about those in a few minutes. Corn. I get a big question about corn. Corn is not really a vegetable. It's more of a grain. And so she doesn't technically allow it on here. Plus, it tends to be one of the moldiest foods out there. If you tend to have a lot of allergies, you know, postnasal drip, it could be due to corn. But here's what I would say to tweak it. If you want to have a little bit of corn, have it, but I would just limit it to a smaller portion as well. Your nuts and seeds are fine for you to have, you know, but portion size is a biggie. 2 to 3 ounces, you know, a handful or less per day of your nuts. The fruits, and I know I was talking to somebody about this, and she technically says only 1 piece a day, green apple. You can have grapefruit or green banana, and then really unlimited lemons and limes, but not many of us are going to eat a lot of that. However, that being said, if you are starving and your choices are a red apple or a Twix candy bar, I mean, the best option would be the red apple, right? The main reason is green bananas and green apples have less of a glycemic index on your blood sugar. So that's going to help with the sugar levels and all. But blueberries are fine if you want to do about a half a cup of those. And even, I know it's strawberry season here in Louisiana, but if you do, I would really limit the strawberries to just 1 or 2 because they do have a whole lot of sugar. Main thing is use common sense and then reach out to me anytime you want. Condiments, salad dressings, all that, it's allowed. However, in the back of the book, she has recipes and she does include some for some spices and dressings, which are really good. You can use purchased spices. Most of those, you know, are okay. Just read your label. Dressings, you need to read the label because a lot of them do have sugar and high fructose corn syrup in there. Beverages, unsweetened, technically no stevia, honey, or monk fruit in your coffee or tea. However, the first week, the first few days, if you feel like you need it, I would stick to the stevia and monk fruit because that's not going to affect your blood sugar as much. no gluten on any of the program, but in level 1, gluten-free grains you can have. And then for dairy, like I said, the full fat. And technically, it's no alcohol or processed drinks. Reach out to me if you have any questions about that, and we'll talk further. All right, so selecting the level. I am not going to talk about this because I have talked to every one of you, and I think we know what we're doing. All right, don't be a hero. I love this slide because don't try to make the detox harder. I've had people who have been on a standard American diet and they were gung-ho and they're like, I'm going to do level 3 from the beginning, Leah. And I strongly advise them not to. The 21-day sugar detox is an excellent program to try to get your taste buds reset, your sugar under control. It's a modified elimination diet. And then when you gradually reintroduce, it kind of helps you figure out some trigger foods. However, it's not going to be super easy. So don't make it hard on yourself. Don't be a hero. Just stick with the program. And if we need to tweak it a little bit for you, we can do that. Okay. What you're doing, just taking the first step, is being a hero enough. Okay, let's talk about building your plate. So for level 1, which majority of y'all are doing, on pages 22 and 23, and if you have your book and you want to look at it while I'm talking, that's fine too. She's got it laid out on 22, kind of what you're going to have, and then she gives you a sample on 23, which of some snacks, which is really good. But 4 ounces of protein. Now, that being said, if you do it a couple of days and you're following it to a T and you're really hungry, I would bump up my protein a little bit. Personally, I need a little bit more protein. Majority of women after menopause actually do need more. So if you need a little bit more protein, that's fine. 1 to 2 cups of non-starchy. Now this is per meal she's talking about, okay? 1 to 2 tablespoons of healthy fat. You can have some dairy. You can have a half a cup of starchy veggies. And then this down here at the bottom where it says activity carbs, that is if you tend to be a very active person, if you are pregnant, which nobody happens to be, but if you're just somebody who needs a little bit more energy from some carbs, then bump up your starchy veggies. I tend to be like that. I have to have a little bit more protein, a little bit more starchy veggies, or I just feel really weak. So that might be you. So, you know, we'll tweak it as we go because I want you to feel good. Level 2 is the same, except you're not doing the gluten-free grains. And then level 3 is up to 6 ounces of protein. But what I've said, you know, what I just said at the other slide is if you need 6 ounces, then don't feel bad about it. You're giving up a lot of food. And so if you need to increase your starchy veggies and your protein, then do that. And what every level can have up to 2 tablespoons of a gluten-free starch per day. That's like cassava, tapioca, arrowroot. That helps kind of thicken, like if you're making a soup or a stew, or you're doing kind of like a mock gumbo roux kind of a thing as well. Okay, so by now you should have gotten into some of your daily pages and you've been doing the pre-detox. And if you look on pages 44 and 45, that's where day 1 starts. And so if you open it up, when you get into every day, it's going to be a 2-page spread, whereas the pre-detox was just 1 page. And she's got a lot of good information. She's also telling you what to expect. And you know, you may look at it and you go, oh, Leah, I don't have time to read it. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's really going to behoove you and your success if you do, because 9 times out of 10, what she says in here is how you're going to be feeling. Enough people have done this and given feedback over the years that most people are feeling the same way. You know, like on day 1, you're feeling under what to expect. I got this. Well, yeah, everybody's got a little adrenaline rush the first couple of days. You feel on top of things, right? As you go a little bit further in the program, you might not feel like that. But most of the time, what she says in there is going to make you feel like you're not all alone. And that's the beauty of our private Facebook group, is so that we can support each other as well. But it gives you some good ideas about how you might be feeling emotionally, feeling physically, and then just jotting down if something was challenging to you, a success, and what you ate, and what time you go to bed, and how much of the fruit you're eating, and all, just because that'll give us a better idea of how to problem solve if we need it. One thing I do like at the top of 45, and you'll see on every like second page, is she gives you what the day's meals are, your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a snack even, and what the recipe of the day is. However, you don't have to do that, right? You can pick any of the recipes you want. You can move them. I was talking to a lady yesterday, and she works full time and her days are crazy. And she said, I need a way to make this a little bit easier. And so we talked about just sticking to the same breakfast and lunch every day for at least the first week, and then pick out something that she can make the night before, right after dinner. She could throw together like a smoothie, or even like a quiche, and she can just reheat that in the morning. So you don't have to follow it to a T. The recipes are good, but I don't do everything she says, and if it's brand new, don't overwhelm yourself. Pick out, a few recipes during this week you want to follow, and then you can tweak some of your own recipes to make them healthier, or just ask me and I'll help you figure that out as well. All right. Let's talk about the meals and the recipes and all. So this is one of my favorite parts of this guidebook. So if you turn to page 115, she has got kind of what you're prepping, what you're making ahead. This is really helpful if you're going to do some of this, like on the weekend, maybe if you have a little more time, or on your day off. It'll kind of help you know what you need to make ahead for that week. And she gives it to you 2 days ahead, 1 day ahead, and she kind of lays it out. But like I said, you don't have to do it this way, but it makes it a little bit easier, so you can look to see what day do you have more time to cook. Maybe it's a Sunday afternoon, a Saturday afternoon, versus an easy cooking day. If you're going to come home from work at 5 p.m. and you have a meeting at 7, then you probably want to be doing leftovers that night, right? Or doing a crock pot meal, so swap as you feel need to, because I want you to be successful. And then on pages 122 through 124, if you were going to follow this whole book to a T and do everything, she's got it laid out for your shopping list for all 3 weeks, 1, 2, and 3, which is really nice. And you probably aren't going to need that, but it's there, in case you want it as well. And sometimes it's helpful to look over the seasoning, baking ingredients, because you may not think about putting those on your shopping list. I know sometimes I'll forget those as well. So I know I've heard this from participants in the past that have said, gosh, eating healthy is expensive. Well, I like to say, if you think wellness is expensive, try illness, because we all know that when you get sick and your health expenses increase, even if you have insurance, there's a cost you're having to pay. Most people have deductibles. You're out for maybe medicines, you're out days that you are working, or maybe if you were planning on going vacation, if you've got something coming up. So, long-term illnesses, we want to try to prevent, right? And so you got to kind of weigh your priorities and all. But as far as shopping on a budget with this, check your pantry and your fridge. Don't go throwing everything out, because there's a lot that you have in there that I guarantee you can use, okay? And I know some of my emails this week already have been telling you to kind of go through your pantry and purge, or hide some food so that you're not tempted. You can also, though, as far as grocery shopping, years ago when we first started doing this, the only place we could find anything was Whole Foods, and the only one was over in Metairie. So we would drive over there once a month and get the foods. But nowadays, there are a lot of stores that have a whole lot of things. I can find a lot in Walmart. and online can find it. Whole Foods has it, most things, of course, but Amazon. There's also something called Thrive Market, and it's kind of like an Amazon, but it's geared toward organic, healthy foods. There is a membership fee, so you'll have to weigh whether, that's cost effective for you right now. But if you're local, Rouse's and even Winn-Dixie carry some. In fact, yesterday, one of the yogurts I was talking to one of the ladies about, they actually had an unsweetened, full fat Stony Bridge yogurt at Winn-Dixie on Gauze East. I was shocked to see that. So shop those places first, and then, you can look and order some things online. And so like I said, Walmart, and sometimes I will just do not the fresh foods so much, but I'll place an order to do a pickup. And so if you look ahead and try to start planning what you're going to want to be fixing, like over the weekend and next week, you could even do a pickup order from Walmart with a lot of, your maybe like if you're going to do quinoa, if you're going to do steel cut oats, things like that, you can go ahead and have that stashed. And Walmart pickup is pretty good for most veggies and all, though I did have one time somebody messed up. I wanted zucchini and they gave me cucumbers. So obviously not the same thing. Another one here in town is Aldi. That one has some fresh foods that you might find helpful as well. Okay, so the daily guide plan you can use, like I said, or build your own. A couple of things I wanted to address about bacon and cured foods. This is an exception to the no sugar rule on the 21-day sugar detox. Most of the time, the manufacturers, when they are curing bacon, they're going to add some sugar. So if you see like 1 or 2 grams on the back of bacon, if you eat bacon, that's okay. Just don't let it be 5 to 10 grams, and read your nutrition label, and it should also list all the ingredients as well. There are some sausages out there that have some fruits in there. You may want to watch those because technically we're trying not to eat a whole lot of fruit. As far as milk, most of y'all are doing the full fat dairy, but coconut milk is another great alternative. Get the can, if you get the box, make sure it says the full fat though, coconut, not the low or watered down and all. The cheeses, if you're on, if you are in that level, you can certainly have that as well. Try to get kind of healthier cheeses, not with a whole lot of junk stuff in it. Carob powder, cacao, or cocoa powder is fine. One thing about carob powder is it's going to be not quite as bitter as cocoa powder. And so you might enjoy that because it has its own sweetness, which is kind of nice if you make those little frozen monkey bites that I told y'all about earlier this week. Tomato sauces, you may have to make your own because most of them out there for spaghetti sauces, not tomato sauces, but spaghetti sauces may have sugar or high fructose corn syrup, but that's pretty easy to make. On page 132 is a great recipe for their apple cinnamon muffins. I believe that's what it is under breakfast. Yeah, apple cinnamon muffins. I really enjoyed those. Now, I want to be honest with you. If you make them this weekend and you eat one on Monday or Tuesday, they're not going to taste super sweet because they don't have any sugar in them. However, as you get used to doing this every day and your sweet tooth kind of is dampened down more, you're going to find they're a lot sweeter. Just be sure to follow the recipe that calls for sauteing them before you put them in the muffins. One time I did it and I just put raw apples in, and you don't get that caramelization, so you're not getting kind of the natural sweetener. But those are great. There's another good one if you like granola. It's called Banola. It's made with bananas. Both my husband and my daughter like that as well. Kind of improvise, do lunch or breakfast for dinner time, right? I mean, you can certainly have that. That's what we've done some. And a lot of times I'll do more savory for breakfast. I'll just eat some leftover roasted veggies, some protein, or maybe turkey sausage, and maybe half of an avocado or even an egg. And that's good for me, for breakfast. And for salad dressings, they're easy to do on your own, and she's got some good recipes in the back. Primal Kitchen is a good one that you can buy. I know Rouse's carries it. Amazon has it. I don't know if I've ever seen it at our local Winn-Dixie, but just look at them. Most of those are made with avocado oil, not canola, because you want to kind of stay away from that. That's more of a junk oil as well. But check any that you buy, make sure they don't have extra sugar. Roasted chicken is great to have just for leftovers, and you can freeze it. You can freeze the carcass if you do a whole chicken, and then you can make some homemade broth for soups. One easy thing we do on the weekend is we will grill, like for Sunday after church, and we'll grill hamburgers and chicken and other things, and we grill extra, and then I have that to throw on top of a salad or make a quick stir fry or just eat as leftovers. And not using a bun, since we're doing gluten-free for the next 3 weeks, but you can use butter lettuce as like a bread, or even you can cook sliced potatoes or like sweet potato and use that. I just tend to eat it by itself with a little avocado and my veggies. That's kind of what I do. Let's see, a couple of sweet things that you may want to know. I wanted to point that out to you is on page 227. There is a, let's see if that's the Granny Smith apple crumble. Now I'm going to tell you, you're not going to find it sweet if you do that this week. So you may want to wait till week 2 or 3, but it is going to taste really sweet to you, but this weekend you might want to make up some of the frozen cocoa chocolate treats, even the sauce. That's good to have just if you need to dip one strawberry in it when you're having that that craving and everything. Caramelized onions, those are really good. She has a recipe on page 231. Those just kind of satisfy that sweet craving. So if you're really having cravings, reach for sweeter vegetables, and that will kind of help dampen it down as well. Okay, let's see. This is talking about even more of the ingredients. I've covered a good bit of it. Rice cauliflower, if you've never tried it, that's a good sub for even rices. You can buy frozen packs of a rice cauliflower / sweet potato blend. That's really good. Even my husband, who doesn't really like rice cauliflower, will eat that. I'll just serve maybe a chicken dish over on top of that, and he likes that. Soy sauce, technically try to replace that with coconut aminos. Most soy sauces have a lot of sugar out there. If you're wanting to do kind of a Chinese recipe, coconut aminos are a good sub for that as well. And in hot sauces, I know some of us are from Louisiana and people like hot sauces and Tabasco and all. Check to make sure it doesn't say gluten, it has any added sugar, or malt vinegar or hydrolyzed proteins. Those are indicative of some sugar or gluten. Okay. So the key is just to read your ingredients. I guess you realize that by now. Okay, so this is just a little general what to expect days 1 through 7. So we start on Monday. And so, get your meal planning done, get your grocery shopping done. I'd recommend by Saturday, Sunday at the latest, so that Sunday afternoon you can spend a couple hours, doing some prep work, making up some protein and some veggies and some fruit, maybe a few little treats for this week. But day 1, you're going to think, I got this. It's not so bad. Day 2, some people say, well, this isn't so bad. Or other people say, oh, well, this get easier. Now, usually the ones who are on the latter case, they're the ones who have been eating sugar and went out and binged on Sunday night. I would not recommend that. Please don't do that to yourself. By this weekend, you need to kind of start to eat a little bit healthier. It's going to help you physically, when you don't have any sugar next week. Day 3, you may think I've got it, or you might start feeling a little bit more fatigue or maybe low blood sugar or cold. Days 3 and 4 are when I usually get more of the calls or texts, and they're like, oh, I'm feeling really tired. I'm feeling a little moody. I mean, can I really do this? And usually, like I said, 90% of the time, it's you haven't been eating enough of the foods you can have. But just reach out to me if, anytime you need to talk or you need some encouragement. That's what I'm here for. Day 5 and 6, people start saying, hey, I'm getting the hang of it. I'm having less headaches and less cravings. Day 6, feeling a little better. Day 7, some people are feeling really good, and then other people are going, oh, that was just 1 week. Wait, I want a cookie. What am I going to do? We got 2 more weeks. So as you can see, some of this was kind of tongue in cheek, but some of it is accurate. You're going to have some ups and downs, but you're not alone. That's what everybody goes through, me included. Okay, let me touch on a few frequently asked questions, and then we'll wrap it up. And then if you have any questions, you can let me know. All right, so one question that I get is, why do we have to eliminate refined foods, sugars, grains, legumes, most dairy, and the seed oils? Well, any refined foods have a physical structure that is going to lead to some health issues. We know that your blood sugar is going to be regulated by the high carb foods, right? They spike your insulin, they provide little nutrition, just like what sugar does. And so we really want you to have good blood sugar regulation. We don't want you to be up and down, up and down, up and down. We really want you to be at kind of a even keeled plateau. Why? Because you're not going to have the cravings as bad, and you're not going to get as hungry, and then you're going to be successful, and you're going to feel a whole lot better. As far as anti-nutrients, we know that in plants and legumes, they do have some anti-nutrients, the lectins, the phytates, the saponins, and all. They basically are put there by God to protect the plant from invaders. But for humans, it can cause poor digestion and can break down that gut lining and lead to like some IBS symptoms and all. So that's why they're allowed in just small amounts, okay? And one trick you can do is, and this is for any level, is you can soak your seeds and your nuts ahead of time, soak them overnight, you rinse and drain the water, then you dehydrate them. If you don't have I have a dehydration on my oven, but if you don't, you just put it on low, like 150 for about 12 hours. And then, you can sprinkle some salt or whatever you want on it too. But what that does is that pulls out, it lessens the phytates, and that can sometimes make it easier for your digestion as well. But that's one reason why they're on a lot on here. And I know that's one thing that's a go-to. A lot of times people will just eat handful by handful of nuts and seeds, but you don't want to do a handful and a handful. You want to really stick to the portion size, okay? As far as dairy, conventional dairy actually can cause a lot of allergies, postnasal drip, runny nose, excess mucus, and all. That might be, maybe your mom told you this, or your grandmother, or you realize if you have a cold, your body doesn't really crave milk, ice cream, and things like that. It's because those are mucus producing. And if you do take those when you do have a cold, it just kind of worsens the mucus and all. So if you do suffer from any kind of allergies or frequent infections, if you cut out conventional dairy for just a few weeks and just try maybe some organic or clean, and that may help. Some people, believe it or not, just that little, they don't have to get rid of dairy totally, but they just change to an organic. That really helps them. Also, the seed oils, the corn, the soybean, like the canola, the vegetable oils, the refining process, it basically damages the fat. So it doesn't really have the good stuff in it. So that's why, we encourage the coconut, the avocado, and the olive oil. Okay, and then this is the last little thing before a couple more slides, but here are your keys to success. Think P squared M. That's going to be your mantra for these 3 weeks. P squared M. Plan, prepare, and mindset. Okay. If you plan and you prepare, like we've talked about a lot during today's session, that's going to really help. Mindset, if you have an I can do this, even if it's new, then you're going to be successful. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about mindset in more detail next week. But just think P squared M, plan, prepare, and mindset, and I'm going to be successful. All right. You have got this. You are going to do well. I've done this before myself many times with other people. And even though you might be a little nervous, I know that you can do this. Okay. So just some resources, your daily guide, of course, the private Facebook group, and I'll be sending y'all an invite to that probably by tomorrow. I'm kind of getting it all set up right now. So I'll send that out to you by tomorrow, Friday at the latest, so you can jump in and we can kind of talk over the weekend. And feel free to post questions, comments, pictures. I know y'all been texting them to me, but sometimes it helps to post in our group and then somebody else can see, oh, hey, I have that product. Yeah, I was wondering if that's an okay product to use. And then every day you're going to be getting an email from you. It's not to flood your email box, but one thing I know that helps is if you're seeing it in an email from me, if you're reading it in your book, if you're getting the help on the Facebook, and then some of the little videos, the quick videos I've been sending you, repetition is a key for anything becoming ingrained. So I think with all of that it's going to help you be more successful. And then so we start Monday. Next Wednesday at 2 p.m. will be our next session. And if you notice, what I'm going to do every week is we'll talk about the current week we're in, but I'm going to prepare you for the following week just so you'll be ready, because you're going to start doing that on the weekend. Every video session will be on a Wednesday with the exception of the last one, which will be on a Thursday, just because I'm going to be out of town until that Wednesday night. So I thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the Facebook group. And just, contact me if you need anything. And I look forward to working with you. So I'm going to stop the recording now, and then I'll answer some questions.